Hardies! Welcome to the Hardies Hotline, your connection to Hope Valley. I am Cammie, the Hooked Hardie. Sorry.
And I am Sarah, the Hawk-Eyed Hardie. We're here to discuss the latest episode of When Calls the Heart.
Season 10, Episode 9, Deep Water. And our characters...
Yeah, some people were in deep water, but
they got in pretty deep.
But also the water was not very deep. So, the actual literal water was not. So I feel like it was like a play on words.
We have been commenting on these play on words in the titles, haven't we?
Right?
So you may notice I am not in my official uniform, but there is a reason behind that. So number one, this is my favorite fall tunic. And because the wedding is only 6 weeks away and it's occurring in October, I thought that the fall tunic was appropriate. This necklace it was given to me by my dear friend Kristen, who is also a Hardie, and it is the knot of friendship. And I thought that the knot was never so tight in Hope Valley as it was in this episode.
Okay.
Don't you agree? The knot of friendship was never as tight as it was to pull all of this off in a day.
Whew.
Yeah. And
Talk
then
about pulling stuff off. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. And then the earrings are in honor of the teardrops, because there were a lot of teardrops shed by Elizabeth that were a little bewildering, shall we say.
So, good word. That's a good word. I think there's a lot of bewilderment amongst parties this week.
I know that the two of us are very bewildered. So
yeah, more so every moment.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we call ourselves the connection to Hope Valley, but we're so lost right now. So that's what I want to start with. Is there are 3 theories that got cleared up in this episode. Two for certain. One is still, we still don't have all of the information. But
okay, let's dive in.
Yes. Theory number 1, that Montague is not engaged to Madeline. I think it's pretty safe to say that theory has been debunked.
Yeah. Well, no, the theory. Well, the theory is true.
Yeah. You know what I mean.
Yeah, his story has been debunked.
His story has been debunked.
We're fully like, yeah, dude.
Yeah. You're not engaged to Madeline. You don't even know where she is. You don't know that she has a son.
And you don't even know who her kid is. Yeah. No.
You're not marrying her.
No.
All right.
Okay.
Theory number 2. Yes, theory number 2 that has been buzzing everywhere, that the triangle was being brought back. I still don't know what they're doing with it, but there is no doubt in my mind after this episode that they are bringing elements of the triangle back.
So, but I want to clarify that doesn't mean that Elizabeth does have feelings for someone and is considering. It doesn't mean she is considering leaving Lucas for Nathan. We don't know that 100%. No. We know that the writers have brought in speculations on purpose. It definitely is. It's obvious that they have on purpose
bringing back the triangle,
bringing back elements of the triangle for the viewers, and trying to make it seem like that is what is happening. We do not know what the actual emotions are that are stemming through all of this.
Right. But yes, the
triangle technically,
it's back.
It kind of disappeared. You kind of don't know it's there. It's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle. but it's like, you kind of now know it's there.
It's there. It's there.
You don't know where it is, but you know it's there. You're
Okay.
kind of stuck.
So this third theory, it's still not proven or not proven. So the governor not being involved with the water. It's not as obvious. If it is him, then it's going even shadier than we thought. But the fact that it's Union City Holdings, at the moment, the governor does not seem to know Montague. He doesn't seem to be involved with that company.
We don't have anything concrete, but we do know that he immediately went to meet with him upon his arrival.
Did he go to meet with?
That was Montague that he walked into the Queen of Hearts with.
See, I saw them acknowledge each other, but I didn't see them go.
That was who they came up and they said,
someone would like to speak
someone would like to speak with you, and that was who. He went and shook his hand and they walked in together.
How did I miss that?
So it doesn't mean, it's not a confirmation that the governor's behind it.
Yes,
but it's an indication that he's involved in some way, whether that's with his knowledge or not, in terms of confirmation. From spoilers I've seen, from scenes and photos I've seen, I definitely feel like he's knowledgeable about something, whether that means he's the instigator and pulling all the strings, I don't know.
Okay.
But I definitely am getting vibes that he knows something.
Okay. So
maybe not all of it.
I have not seen spoilers. I haven't had a chance to look at any. Okay, I take that back. I have seen one spoiler that is very triangle heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
one I sent you.
the sneak peek with Rosemary and Elizabeth saying, "Is it a bad omen?" Like, oh,
it
dear.
appears so. It definitely appears that they get her dress or veil or something, and it is not correct in some way. Which
not correct, or it's ruined or something.
Something, and I gotta say, poor Elizabeth. Her first wedding, her wedding dress went up in flames. Like literally burned, like
multiple combustions
right before the wedding. And so to then, have your next wedding dress have anything be wrong with it, if nothing else was going on, I would be devastated. Having that happen a second time. Like, your first wedding, you ended up having to not wear the dress you wanted to wear.
But her dress was pretty.
It's beautiful, but it's just one of those things, those bride things. Like you're going into this and you're like, you have a vision, and then something, doesn't go the way you want it to. And at the end of the day, yeah, that's not the most important thing, but it's still kind of breaks your heart a little bit because you have this vision of what your day is going to be. And so if that happens a second time, I can see that weighing even more heavily on you the second time, going, man, again, like this could be a bad omen. Like, I get that. I do get that. Yeah. If that was the only thing happening, I'd be like, yeah, I totally get just having that gut reaction.
No, I get it as well, but you still have to admit the fact that she's saying it's suspicious.
Yes.
Yes.
And to follow up, though, all the other things that they said, that she says in that scene, make a lot of sense. That all this stuff is going on in the town. And that's really hard to kind of be selfish and be like, let's talk about my wedding. Let's figure out all this wedding stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to overlook all that. So let's talk about the way that Lucas and Elizabeth were very, very unselfish in this episode.
Yes, Yes. I have to just really quick, the look on Lucas's face as he was learning about.
Are you serious? Oh, you're serious.
I loved that scene. I loved that dynamic. It was so fun to see, to see Elizabeth really have Rosemary's back. Still,
in every way, shape, and form.
To really defend her, really, and to piggyback on that, from the previous scene, when she was learning about it from Rosemary, holding her accountable while still being extremely supportive.
I loved and
like, I know there's more. I know you.
Like, come on, give me the rest of it.
There's no way this is it. I was here for the New Year's celebration. I know how your mind works. You know,
shall we list all the promises that she made to the governor and his people?
Okay. Absolutely.
So what's the first one that comes to the top of your head?
Well, the bandstand.
Okay. The new bandstand. How lucky was it that there were old plans for one in the mayor's office, and so that got them started. And then,
and I want to point out, the old mayor's office was Gowan's office, and who ended up coming to the rescue to build something
with his crew.
I thought that was like, oh, these could have been his old plans too. And I mean, I know they didn't actually build the whole bandstand, but I'm like, oh,
they could have been his old plans. That would be cool. Yeah. No, and I loved that scene when Henry came in with Emily, Opal, and Timmy, and I think me and my crew can handle that. I'm like, you go, Henry.
Totally.
That was a beautiful thing. All right, next.
Okay, the choir performance.
That one was okay.
With an original song.
Oh no, I wrote that down as a separate one. Yeah. So the choir performance, the new bandstand. So really quick before we go off of the new bandstand, the idea to use the wood for the wedding pergola, to help create the new bandstand. There are people who say that is a sign that Elizabeth doesn't want to get married, because she immediately said, oh, you can use that. But I disagree. I mean, maybe that could lead to it. Maybe that is an underlying thing.
If she didn't want to, then yes, that could be a sign. I don't feel like the sign automatically means
that she doesn't want to.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that as being a small part of a bigger picture, if that is the bigger picture.
I think that she knew that was a ready and available supply of wood, and they were going to have 6 weeks to cut some more lumber for that, and this was an immediate need. And yes,
and she happens to know the owner of the sawmill. I think she knows she can get more lumber.
I think that is secure.
I mean, I feel like it's not a major issue. Also, Rosemary gave up her bridesmaids' dresses before her wedding to help the town.
These bandages.
And I mean, granted, that was a little bit more like life or death kind of a situation.
But it was still a desperate situation, and here was another desperate situation. Yes.
And so it was honestly a little interesting that then Rosemary was like, no, we're not doing that. You're not giving up the wood for your wedding. But only because it was such an odd clash between Elizabeth and Rosemary. But I think it was just Rosemary not wanting to feel guilty because this was kind of what she had coordinated. But that was the only piece to that I found a little odd, and it wasn't major.
Yeah,
and Lucas was right there, and he didn't seem to mind either. So it wasn't like,
I didn't see it as a problem
in any of the stages of any of this, because obviously a lot of people are saying, you know, that she's not seeming interested in the wedding. Through all the stages of this, Lucas has been right there too. Lucas has every single stage said, this is no big deal. We'll postpone that. This is more pressing. This is a big deal.
Tasting. He's the one that said it's okay.
He's the one that said it's fine. We'll do that later. That's fine. He's A, supportive of her. B, sees how supportive she is of Rosemary, and those are like their best friends. Rosemary and Lee are really the closest friends he has.
Matron of honor, best man. I mean,
and so I really see this as him really truly seeing that this is a bigger need right now. And it was very obviously a good move for him business wise to have the governor come and stay at his establishment and know who he is. Like, even before there was the mention that the governor wanted to meet with him, like, I think he sees that as a very wise business move. And yes, we of course want to impress the governor. Like,
of course we do.
Like, yeah. So, I mean, and again, it's not like the wedding is this weekend. It's 6 weeks away. There's still plenty of time.
That would be different. That would be different totally if the wedding was in a week.
Okay, so here's a thought that keeps going through my head.
Okay.
The beginning of this season, first of all, writers do move around. Writers change direction. Different seasons kind of feel like they have different paths, right? Like, we've discussed that over the years about lots of different topics.
Yep.
However, the first half of this season was still extremely strong. Lucas was still extremely strong with their relationship and planning the wedding, and her family meeting him and them being very resolute in their future.
Mm-hmm.
But from the get-go, Elizabeth has never been keen about the wedding.
True.
At all. We had all the talk about elopement that we went back and forth about.
Here she goes again.
It was my theory.
It was your theory.
I'm gonna hold on to it till it's not a possibility.
Yeah, it hasn't been debunked yet.
It has not been debunked. I very well could see that her grief right now is coming from a place of fear about the wedding itself. She had this big, giant, romantic, beautiful, perfect wedding with Jack. And the wedding itself could be what's triggering her having a lot of emotions right now. Now, I'm not addressing in that statement, who knows what's going on with her thoughts about Nathan. Like, that's a whole other thing. But if it's about grief,
another story.
If it is about grief solely, if that's what the outcome is going to end up showing, which you got to admit, that's a possibility, that they're just toying with that whole grief thing again. If that's what's happening,
doesn't go in a straight line, right?
It doesn't go in a straight line, and it's messy. People are messy, as Elizabeth said. People are messy.
Yep.
Life is messy.
Correct.
Okay, so, and I do think they could pull at old lines like that. If this is solely about grief, I could see it being about the wedding and them just eloping. Just saying, if that happens, Hardy's hawk-eyed Hardy right here. I see it. It could happen. Could still be in the cards.
If they don't elope, I am so gonna laugh in your face.
That's fine. I would laugh in yours if the situation was reversed. I give you that right. But if I'm right, how cool would that be?
How cool would it be? Okay, so choir performance, new bandstand, an original song about Hope Valley written in the governor's honor. Okay, I only have one thing to say about this. If it is supposed to be in the governor's honor, don't make it about Rosemary. Don't do that.
It's just in keeping with the tradition of Rosemary being the center of attention.
Was
I don't think he noticed anyway.
no, because he seems pretty oblivious. Mark Brandon played that very well, the oblivious, aloof politician.
Yeah, just like, almost kissing the babies. Like
Almost kissing the baby.
Interested in the babies, but then distracted. Gotta go where the constituents want.
Yeah, but I have to admit that that lyric bothered me, that they would make it about Rosemary when it's supposed to be in his honor.
Yeah. I mean, it was cute. I can see it seemed a touch out of place. I think it would have been better if it had like just been a children's choir that was doing it. Like that would have seemed like, oh, the kids are like, talking about their choir leader or something. But like, yeah, given the fact that there were multiple adults singing too, they didn't really preface any of this performance with the children wrote the song. So it did seem out of place, but it was very cute. It was still very cute. And I loved the basic aspect of the song about Hope Valley. How amazing that Angela and Allie had just happened to have written a song.
They just happened to write
Hope Valley, like just in the last couple weeks, just happened. That's amazing.
Come back to Hope Valley, our wonderful home, where everyone's welcome and no one's alone. I'm going to stop there because those are the lyrics that I really liked. So,
those are beautiful.
Yes, I liked those. I liked those. All right. Another promise. The first live radio broadcast of his career. Oh.
Well, it's ironic that she offered that and he was supposed to come later and had moved it up. But where he just came from had messed up giving him a live performance.
Yeah, screeching brass band and the broken radio. Terrible.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting that one of the things that she promised happened to be something someone else promised and could not deliver.
True.
So,
and yeah. I think even more hysterical was the look on Hickam and Lucas's faces. Oh, those poor men. You don't say. Oh, those poor guys. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Those poor men.
And I loved that they immediately ran.
They looked at each other. Rosemary.
Right. Which is so fun and out of character
for Lucas.
I mean, Lucas is so business all the time and
in
just
charge.
I just really do love seeing him more laid back and more unloving and friendly. Like it's so refreshing to see him just like loosen up.
My favorite Lucas moment was this is something that will be hard to keep secret. What's the secret? See? That was just a huge outburst from Lucas, and I almost what?
Lucas, yeah,
Lucas is going out there. He's really stressed.
Yeah, and but he doesn't get mad. He just gets stressed. Whereas, quite honestly, he very well could have gotten mad at her and been justified to have been mad at her in that moment.
Yeah,
be like, you expect me to throw a ball? Like,
oh, that's the last promise.
That's the next one.
That's the last promise. Formal black tie gala with a 7-course meal. Come on, Rosemary. Even with your imagination, you couldn't go 3 courses.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So going back to that scene with Lucas, there are two other things that I loved. Number one, seeing Elizabeth so uncomfortable. Erin played that so well. She really played that so well. And then of course his subsequent, okay, let's do this. Bye. I have to go prepare for this. And then when Bill shows that he knows, like, I know about the governor. Well, I'm still enough of a Mountie to keep an eye on everything that happens in this town. You know what? Go Bill. You know, he's pulling out the Mountie.
Yeah. He's
So,
starting to get a little more confidence now that he's figuring out what's going on with the whole Madeline thing. I think he was kind of questioning himself there for a little bit, but I think he's
seriously shaken.
Yeah. And I still think he's upset, but I think he's gained confidence back. Like, because now he's like, I suspected something and I was right. I should have followed my gut. My gut can be trusted.
And I think we're both pretty sure that he didn't put
anything. I was hoping there was some sort of clause in there, but it does not appear that way now.
Nothing hidden in the contract that would
I mean, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they get out of this one. We'll see.
That's the other thing. Montague said, we're digging a well, the old one dried up.
What a horrible lie. Like, it's been a week.
Well, wouldn't you go to the previous owner and say, hey, is there something wrong with your well? No. Okay, then why are they doing
no, it's a horrible lie.
It's a horrible lie. I mean, if you're gonna lie, at least do a decent lie, please.
Yeah, no, they don't really care about that. They're just like, get off our property.
Yeah.
So in just since we're right there,
yes,
Elizabeth mentioning to Bill and Nathan that she's been visiting Jack's grave.
The looks they gave her. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but also just the fact that she admitted it. I felt like that was especially given the questionable nature of her feelings right now, you could see her not admitting it. You could see her trying to cover that up. And not have anyone.
I don't see a reason to cover it up, though. Just
it doesn't seem to want people to think. I mean, because quite honestly, that would have been an easy out to any conversation that people tried to have with her. Is I'm really sad. I'm missing Jack. Like, I'm grieving. Like, you could easily just say that, and that
you
could
can dismiss a lot of things with that.
You could shut down any of the conversations, any of the like minor questions with Rosemary, the big stuff with Henry, like all of that could have just been squashed if you're just like, whoa, triggered a bunch of my emotions. I mean, you really could have squashed it, and instead she didn't. And she's, so I don't know. So the fact that she was open about it in that instance, when in some ways it was a helpful cover story for why she went to the property, it's just interesting to me.
I'm trying to, because it seemed like they were making a bigger deal of it than I imagined it would be. I mean, my father's grave is over an hour away from where I live. And so me making a special trip way out there, that would be the reason why I was going.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm really trying to make sense of is that seriously long look that Nathan gave her. I mean, when she said that she was visiting Jack's grave, he just looked at her and stared and wouldn't take his eyes off her for a long time. And I was trying to read his emotions there. That's the actor in me. I was trying to read his reaction, and I was trying to read his motivation for it.
I mean, in that, my interpretation in that moment was simply probably going back to his feelings of guilt a little bit, or just
that's one thought I had.
Awkwardness, like, oh, like we were talking about other stuff, and like, oh yeah, your dead husband, you know, like, I mean, like, right. Oh, that brought the, you know, that brought the mood down a little bit, and just the reference to the past that was a very negative time for him, both because of his guilt over what had happened, and then his feelings of responsibility towards her and little Jack, and then compounded by his feelings for her. Like, there's just so many layers that could have just flashed in front of him that he was not expecting to have to deal with emotionally in that moment.
Those are good points. So while we're right here, I just want to interject two things. Number one, the recap when they do previously on When Calls the Heart. Did you love that most of the recap, there were a couple of things that weren't, obviously, but most of the recap was in the form of her conversation with Jack at his grave?
Absolutely.
That's how they showed most of the happenings. And I don't know, I found that very touching, and I really loved it. And then
I loved it, but I also just think that ties to the feeling that this is tremendously about grief. Even if there's more to it, I just think that's really at the heart of it, even if they're wanting you to think it's something else.
Yes. And then the other thing that happened right there at the beginning that I ain't gonna lie, I let out an awe and my heart melted a tiny bit. Nathan playing tag with little Jack.
For me, and so yes, 100% yes. And I don't want Team Nathan people to be like, oh, they're so like against me. I'm not against Nathan. I very much was Team Nathan. I probably honestly am Team Lucas right now, because I don't want to see another broken heart. Like, I feel like Nathan's already moved on. He's not brokenhearted. I feel like if it goes like someone's gonna be brokenhearted again. I don't want more broken hearts.
You mean his hashtag Mountie rounds?
Yeah, I mean, he's already made that round. We don't need to go around again. What?
I laughed so hard when Rosemary is walking with Elizabeth and, oh, Nathan will find someone. Then again, Faith, May, you, not a great track record. I went, oh, Rosemary, ouch, calling him out. And then I realized that Hickam is following right Nathan in those rounds, and he is making the same rounds except for one.
Except for Elizabeth, yeah.
Well, I'm almost waiting for
real life,
I'm almost waiting for him to do that, because he's doing it in real life. So, let's just have Hickam fall in love with Elizabeth secretly. Let's have him complete the round.
So, but going back to that, of course, yes, that was adorable.
It was
to see them playing together.
It was so precious.
And he didn't have a serge on, but he was wearing the rest of his uniform.
Yeah.
With the jacket off. And Jack always walked around like that. Jack walked around looking exactly like that all the time.
Different hair.
And I really, yes, but like.
I'm teasing you.
From that scene, for when you're watching what Elizabeth is watching, you aren't even seeing Nathan's face. You are seeing a man dressed as a Mountie playing with her son. And I just want to use that for devil's advocate, whatever people say. I'm not saying that is what's happening, but I can absolutely see that being her imagining Jack playing with him. I can see that being a possibility.
I see two possibilities in that. Yours, what could have been, and then is she imagining a possibility of what could be?
And that is possible as well. I'm not discounting that. I
know you're not.
A lot of people see that and just immediately go, oh my God, she's in love with Nathan.
No. I'm not.
Absolutely could be something else happening there. But I don't want to discount that it also could be this extremely horrible overcome feelings of grief.
Okay, we're there. So we might as well just talk about this.
Let's do it.
Okay, in we go. we're stepping out of the kettle and into the fire. Here we go.
Might as well.
Hope you got your fireproof boots on, babe. Because this is gonna get interesting. Okay. Elizabeth hears about the trouble and she freaks out. It's a very historical term for you.
Yeah, totally. Very 20s.
It's about as historically accurate as the rest of their phrases, you know. So.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. I'll give her credit. She didn't freak out in the moment. She very composed.
No.
In the moment. I will go find out. I will go look for him. Even though I think she already knew that he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
This really is the hardest part to explain away with devil's advocacy. Not really. You know,
I'm very interested in what you have to say.
Really, the only thing I can say is that it very much mirrors the end of season 6. Was it 6 or 7?
7.
7. The end of season 7.
The hug heard around the world. Yeah.
It very well. It very much mirrors that.
Yeah.
A very similar situation where she thinks he's in danger and has panicked, and he's immediately not in danger. Like the second after she panics is not in danger. So very similar scene. Which I can't believe they would do a similar scene without having a meaning behind that. Like you don't repeat yourself for no reason.
It would be very bad storytelling.
You don't, and they're not, I'm sorry, they're not bad storytelling. They make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but
of course, but that
even if we don't like the reason, they had a reason. They had a reason for doing it.
They would not do they would not do something like that without having a reason.
Right.
Because that would be
again,
that
people
would be
may not like the
storytelling.
reason. People might not like reason.
Yeah.
They had a reason. They had to have had a reason. And so when I sit here with trying to figure that out, it's either trying to give you like a juxtaposition for like, this is how it resolved itself last time. And now she's wanting to gives her an opportunity to maybe make a different choice, go a different way, do something differently, have a different outcome. Or it's really just calling back going, remember when that happened? Yeah, it was grief. She's still going through grief. It's not over yet. Just because she made a choice doesn't mean her grief has ended. And it still can be triggering, and it still can be, and the thing is that I don't necessarily like, you know, Henry, when she and Henry have this conversation and she says, I was worried for a friend, it doesn't necessarily even have anything to do with Nathan. If grief is the storyline. It's not about if grief is the storyline, it's not about Nathan at all. It's 100% just about her reliving finding out that Jack died, her reliving going through that situation, and potentially just having that thought of like, I'm gonna have to tell Allie he's gone. I'm gonna have to watch somebody else go through what I went through. I'm gonna have to have these constant reminders with people close to me of what I went through. And so, I mean, that's what it could be. And she did completely hold herself back and did not run up and hug him this time. She did not make a big scene. She smiled at him and walked away.
And walked into the library to take several heaving breaths.
Which is probably, okay, if it's grief, then that would be her trying to regulate her emotions, trying to even come to terms with why did I just do that?
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
So I want to say one thing before we get into the Henry side of this situation. Did you hear the thunderstorm happening during that conversation that they were having at the end when she told Henry that he was mistaken?
I didn't hear it.
There was a thunderstorm and there was very hard rain coming down on the roof.
I mean, I probably heard it, but I wasn't paying attention to that.
Yeah, I know. Part of me wondered if they put the sound of the thunderstorm, because they can take that out.
Oh, yeah.
They've done it before, because I've seen uncut versions when I had to have a pre-screening to do it on Christmas Day or something like that. I've had pre-screenings before, and there have been scenes where the surrounding noise was very loud, and then I watched the finished version and it's not there. So they either left it in or they put it in. And part of me could not get past the idea that there was a thunderstorm in the background, emphasizing and illustrating the storm happening inside Elizabeth right now. Because I think that what's going on is very thunderous.
Yeah. Either way, right? If you're coming to a decision that you have chosen the wrong person to be with, and you're potentially going to end a relationship that is a major relationship, and
that causes a lot of thunder.
Call off a wedding, have your child like not have the step parent that they've been getting used to for a few years now. Like, I mean, there's huge turmoil if you're doing that. And again, not saying that's if that's where her heart is, that's what she has to do. Okay. But that's going to cause a huge amount of turmoil within yourself doing that, even if that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Likewise, if you're just going through all of this pain and emotion, and you're maybe just questioning if you're ready to get married, you don't, are you saying goodbye? Is this the final goodbye to your past life, to your husband who's passed away,
to your married name,
to the name your son has, to the name of the school that he built you, everything, and have a big fancy ceremony that is going to remind you every second of your first wedding.
You're not going to get over that, are you?
So that didn't occur to me when I was watching this last episode. That occurred to me during the week when after I rewatched it the second time. And I rewatched it the second time.
To elope, you guys.
I really do. This is like my ultimate hope for this season. I'm sorry. So when I rewatched it the second time, I watched it through the lens of, if it is grief, does it make sense? Like, would everything be explained away? Could they explain it with that? And when that was over, that was just the thing that kept ringing in my ears, was the pieces of the wedding are the things that she is freaking out about. That those are the things that she's willing to let go of for the greater good of the community. Like, oh, you take the wood for the thing. Well, we don't need to have the tasting. Oh, all those are all the things. When she's just happy with Lucas when she's writing in her journal about the wedding and being married soon. Like, she seems genuinely happy in those moments. What I'm seeing is the wedding talk being a time when she gets really nervous.
Well, and this is something that was pointed out to me. Did you catch this, Hawkeye? The wedding date is 3 or 4 days away from Jack's death date. If you compare the two dates, the one that
but
I
they
know.
had to change his, but they technically had to change his death date because of Jack being born on Christmas
I know.
Eve. So yeah, that one I'm not sure about. Just because they had to fudge all of that timeline. So I don't know.
But
potentially.
But that can open a whole nother can of worms if you're getting married that closely to
whose brilliant idea was that?
Date.
Yeah, that's a horrible idea. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Okay, so now let's go to Henry's side of things. Well, except for the fact, see, here's the part where I can't dismiss it as grief. Elizabeth saying with all that teeth gritting vehemence, "You're mistaken, Henry." That's where I can't just dismiss it as grief. She got so defensive.
Yes. Yes. Not arguing that.
Yes.
Could that be just you're accusing me of like having feelings for someone behind my fiance's back? Like,
I didn't see it that way.
No, no matter what, it doesn't make a logical sense for her to react that way, but clearly she's not really feeling
logical.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I just want to go back to the biggest thing I have a problem with is when I hear comments about how selfish Elizabeth is being at times, or how wishy-washy she seems, or how this isn't the Elizabeth we know and love, blah blah blah. They're trying to make her seem human. No matter which way this goes, this is a real situation that could happen to someone either way. Falling in love with somebody else and having to call off your wedding, or just not knowing how to handle your grief and making a fool of yourself. Like, that happens to real people
way too often,
especially who have been through really traumatic situations.
Yes.
And so that's the big, like, that's the biggest part of the devil's advocacy that I want to say, is that, like, no matter what, poor Elizabeth has been through the ringer. Yeah. And I don't see this as her being stupid or selfish. I think she's got some mental health problems going on right now and needs some help to figure it out, and hasn't figured it out yet.
And she doesn't want help figuring it out at the moment.
Doesn't really want, she wants to just bury it and move on, which I understand, but it's not healthy. And is going to end up hurting people that you love, probably one way or another. And so that's just the biggest piece that I feel very strongly about, is that no matter which way she is going, us trying to make logical sense out of it actually isn't logical.
Oh, I've given up. I've given up on trying to make logical sense. You know what I mean?
Like, when you're like, this part doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And I 100% agree with you. It doesn't make sense for her to do that in any way, shape, or form if it's just grief. And yet, if it's grief, she isn't being logical. So
yeah, no, I've given up on trying to do logical predictions and all that, because no, I've given up. Okay, question of the day.
Humans are illogical.
Yeah, that's right. Question of the day. Henry being the one to bring all this to a head.
It wouldn't have worked with anybody else.
Okay. Yeah. That's yes,
It
that was
wouldn't
my
have.
question.
She would have she wouldn't have taken anybody else seriously. Even
I
Rosemary in this
No,
moment.
no, not Rosemary at all. Rosemary is way too emotionally invested. She ordered the rainbow, remember? Yeah. I love that line. Did you order the rainbow? Oh, I would if I could. You know? I love that line. But there is no way that she would have taken this from Rosemary. However, I wonder what it would have been like if she had taken it from Bill. I don't know that Bill is a good choice because he's too emotionally connected, at least in Elizabeth's mind, to Nathan, because Bill is another Mountie and they've worked together too much and all that. Henry is very, very much a neutral party in all of this.
First of all, I don't see Bill having the gumption to stand up to her about it.
He's the James Bond of Hope Valley. He can't do one little thing like that.
Not with her. I think
Not
he
with
could have
her.
with someone else. I think she's the one person that he is emotionally connected to in this town. Like
Yeah, I would agree.
emotionally. I think he's got strong bonds with a lot of people and would trust a lot of people and would help a lot of people.
But
She
not
is
in that
like
way.
she is like his daughter. She is like the only family he has. And I don't I mean I could see him having a conversation with her about it. I don't see him challenging her like that. I could see him opening up and having a discussion with her. Maybe that will still happen this season, but in like a confrontational way like this. I don't see him really laying it out for her like that and pushing it. And while I don't think that Henry was being confrontational,
no,
I think it still was a confrontation.
Yes,
I agree. That makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense because I agree 100%. I mean, look at the way he approached her the second time. I mean, you could almost see him turning his hat in his hand. And he had his suit on again, by the way, which I love.
Which I feel like he presents himself when he knows a situation is important. He presents himself with the utmost care. When
this was a vital conversation.
He knew this was major. And quite honestly, she might be the closest thing he has to family too. Besides his son that is not here right now. Like, yeah, she is the person that, besides Abigail, obviously has always, not always, but has for a long time now been rooting for him and really always tried to make a connection with him and always tried to talk with him and always tried to give him advice.
And all the conversations that they've had, this is the first time that emotionally it was turned around at her. Every other conversation where there was bonding going on between them was about him.
Yeah. And that's why he knew he had to do it.
This is the first time that he went around and turned it on to her. And it was so humble. It was so humble the way he did it. Talking about the backstory of his father, offer no unsolicited advice, which means mind your own darn business. I loved that. And then, her filling in the blank, you're thinking of breaking, you are going to break that rule. I'm thinking on it.
She knew the whole time what it was about.
Oh, absolutely. There was never a question.
And yet, it wasn't till he actually said it that she got upset.
And he didn't even come right out and say it.
I mean,
He
man,
said,
I would have kind of liked to have him say something way more
blunt.
pushy, but
yeah, he said,
didn't.
he said, do you think you should give some thought to how you were feeling yesterday? That's what he said.
Sounds fair to me.
Sounds totally fair. And she jumped straight to the defensive. And, you know,
she is not okay. No matter the situation,
not okay.
She is not okay right now. To jump like that, one way or another, she needs help.
Yeah.
We don't have a therapist in Hope Valley.
There weren't very many of them back then, I don't think.
No. I mean, maybe Hickam does it in his spare time, but he should just like have somebody should just lay down on a couch next to him and start talking, and he's just like, what's happening? Like,
that would be a scene for the books. You and I should write that scene.
That would be funny. That would be really funny.
Brian, we got an idea to pitch for you.
I mean, he's done every other job. It might as well try.
It's not a lie.
It's, you know, and then they could radio broadcast it. He could be like Frasier. He could have like his own radio therapy show.
Thanks to Fiona, who linked together broadcasting capabilities.
She's like Roz. She's like the producer. I can see it now. It's a great crossover idea.
Oh my.
Anyway, okay. Just saying. Yeah, so she needs, I mean, Joseph, Nenny, I don't know. She needs to talk to somebody. Rosemary's a wonderful friend, but she needs something more than that. She doesn't just need a friend to talk to. She needs something more impartial, something.
She doesn't need theatrics. And as wonderful of a friend as Rosemary is, and I have no doubt that Rosemary would take her seriously.
Oh, yeah, no. And I think she could help, but she needs more than that.
She
needs
doesn't,
more than just that.
She doesn't need theatrics right now. She needs professional help, like you said.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'm going to break from the somber mood for a bit so we get some lightheartedness before we end up. I'm going to tell you my favorite line of the entire episode. Speaking of theatrics, Hope Valley will finally get a stage.
My kids are a little behind. They're not as caught up with the series, but Sophia was walking through the room with that line, and she's like, she gets a stage.
That's great. That, and oh no, Rosie, what did you do? Her best friend and her husband, all they have to do is look at her, and they know.
The only thing that would have made this episode better is if we had actually made a callback comment to the New Year's Eve fiasco.
That would have been incredible.
That would have been just the icing on the cake, or even Hickam. Like, do I have to move trees? Like,
but a close second is, you're just being my Rosie. That was pretty cute.
Yeah. And I also want to call attention to the ladies kind of making it about mothers sticking together and helping each other and supporting each other, even though poor Fiona was like, I'm not. I'm not. And they're like, well, you know, we're here for you. We're here for you. She might not be here for you, but we're here for you.
All right. So we're going to have to wrap this up pretty soon because we talked a little long on the issues. But I want to talk about when Elizabeth was totally in control and totally on top of things. It's time to get underwhelmed. Get on top of it, Coulter. I mean, I literally sat back in my chair when I was watching this. I went, oh my goodness, she called her Coulter. You know, then you've done a wonderful thing. All right, so it won't be perfect, but that doesn't mean it won't be good. And then Rosemary follows that up with don't stop, but don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. And I think that that was something that could be a mantra for this episode, because what they did for the governor's arrival was good enough. And we haven't even seen the gala yet, which
just from the few photos we've seen does look quite lovely. So they pulled together.
Can I just say, Kevin
some nice
Smith
stuff
in a white tie? Holy moly, that man wears a tux well. You know, that looked really good.
All the pictures I have seen look just stupendous. The costuming for this episode is going to be gorgeous. Viv looks awesome. Oh, Viv looks awesome in a tux. Oh my goodness. He looks great in a tux.
Really?
Which is hilarious. I don't think I've seen him in a tux in his other shows, which is like more likely to have seen him in a tux and other stuff. But no, he looks really great. Lucas looks great.
Well, of course.
All the ladies' dresses are amazing.
Lovely.
Gorgeous.
We don't get to see Kevin McGarry in a tux. He's in uniform.
But we love the red surge, so we'll let it slide.
The red surge. I still have the shirt you gave me when I was pregnant with Jack. The red surge on the horizon. You know, I still have.
You really can't go wrong. I mean,
yeah, you really can't. And we would be completely remiss if we did not say that we are so looking forward to seeing more of Mark Brandon as Governor Bixby, not Buxby.
Bixby, not Buxby.
Bixby Balfour, because we got such a tiny glimpse. It was so tiny. I even messaged him and I said,
so grand. It was such a grand entrance. That was just really cool to have him like up on the back of the car coming in like, really?
Back of the car. And I even messaged him and I said, one scene? Really? Well, you looked great doing it. And I'm really glad that I know that there's more to come. You know, yes. Because I am so excited after talking with him and finding out we're gonna love his character in the beginning and then we're not gonna love his character so much at the end.
All information that was shared prior to the
this was all prior.
He has not given us anything.
Oh gosh, no. He has not given us anything.
we so look forward to talking to him again once the strike is over.
And
come on, strike.
He has promised that once the strike is over, he is coming. I told him that you and I were recording tonight. And he said, oh, I wish I could be with you. Have a good show. So he's coming back, Hearties. As soon as the strike is over and he is able, he's coming back. So, and we hope.
And we will have lots and lots of questions for him by then.
Oh, I'm sure we will. Poor guy's gonna need a recorder to get all of our questions down.
We might need a couple, might need to break it into segments here.
we probably, we might need to do that. All right, Hearties. Well, we've talked your ear off about some deep water issues.
We didn't even get to the shallow water issues, but we'll get there next week.
Water, but we'll get there next week. It'll be fine. All right, so we hope that you have a lovely morning, evening, afternoon, or night, whichever you are in your day, and may the hope in your heart make your love to others blossom. Have a good night.
Good night, hearties. Team elopement. Hashtag team elopement. That's
hashtag Mountie rounds. Bye, hearties.
Bye.